everyone, thanks for coming out to watch. I'm Lily Burns.
And I'm Farmer Jack.
And you're watching Farmer Jack in the Agvocate. I wanted to touch on this week something that we talked a little bit about in our last episode, but that I thought would be really cool to elaborate on. So one of the names you mentioned when we were talking about propaganda was Edward Bernays. He, if I'm not mistaken, he is Sigmund Freud's nephew, correct?
Double nephew.
Double nephew. So whenever we were talking about this, we are learning about Sigmund Freud in one of my psychology classes, and he was really, really prominent in the psychology world. So I'm assuming Bernays would have been really, really good at manipulating people, and he would know how to play with people's minds. So how did he use his skills, if he had those skills, being Sigmund Freud's double nephew, to manipulate not only the farmer, but the whole country with propaganda during World War I?
Right. So let's just look at some small things here so we can get a kind of a baseline of where we're at. Sigmund Freud was talking and brought to the forefront of psychology the idea of the subconscious, right? So why this is important is Bernays actually translated Freud's books to English, and so he was, first and foremost, one of the very first people that even had a real idea or understanding of kind of what this meant. Now, why this is different is there's been propaganda, forever. That's not a new thing of trying to convince somebody of something by, lying to them or trying to trick them or play on them. But the difference here is Edward Bernays figured out a way to propagandize your subconscious. So what that means is you may not even realize that what he's doing to manipulate or change the way you view things. He's attacking you on a subconscious level. So number one, what countermeasures? This is a new technology at the time, right? So how would any of the population know that they were even being propagandized on a subconscious level? So there was, or even if they did recognize that, what were their countermeasures they had put in place so they could say, oh no, that's a subconscious propaganda. Well, even to this day, you really look at it, any kind of subconscious propaganda is hard for most anybody to recognize because of the way that it's put out. But the difference is the government hired him, and the government come in. Woodrow Wilson said, I have a plan. I got elected under the pretense that I won't go back to war, but I want to go back to war. So I need you to help me convince everybody in the United States that war is what we need to do. Okay? And so they set the CPI with George Krill. They went on this huge campaign with propaganda specifically designed to attack the subconscious, right? Mm-hmm. So where it comes into farming is, historically, farmers have been the most independent people, So that doesn't always play well when we're trying to get together and get some progress made for the group. Everybody kind of wants to do their own thing, but overall, that was kind of a known thing. Even, when you look at the early founding fathers, they talk highly of the yeoman farmer, the farmer that, the idealistic person, that's the idealistic citizen of the United States, that they're totally self-sufficient, mm-hmm. that they come in and they take care of themselves, right? So that goes against the government telling them what to do. Mm-hmm. So the propaganda had to be very sneaky and actually very forceful to get the American farmer to change the way they were farming at the time, honestly.
How did Bernays be forceful but sneaky at the same time? Was it like the way he was pushing it was forceful, but the subliminal messaging was sneaky? Like, how did he do both of them?
Well, here's the perfect...
They're kind of conflicting.
Yeah, well, so here's a perfect example. The way that he approached propaganda, specifically on the subconscious level, was to lean on areas that would make you feel compelled to do it. So he made the patriotic sell to the farmer. He's like, if you grow as much as you can, it's your patriotic duty. So that makes you a super patriot. Your service is indebted to the country. So he makes that ploy. So like from a church side, they were like, okay, don't you want the world to eat, right? They did a good thing to feed people, and so they would send out these mass campaign letters that all had reverends, preachers, town leaders, mayors, where they had kind of this centralized talking points they would go off of. Even at churches, they were hearing at churches like it's your duty as an American, to produce this food for the Allies or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how, they were able to be sneaky in it. I mean, here's one thing that most people don't even know. This is how influential Edward Bernays was. The idea of bacon and eggs for breakfast was totally a campaign that he created. Really? Right? That wasn't even like a standard until he made it a standard. And you can look up, freedom torches or whatever. That'd be a good one for everybody kind of Google and look at. But he is known. He literally wrote a book that says propaganda, and like one of his famous quotes is, how we convince the mass of people, almost like a hive mind, to go the direction and do what we want to do, right? So it's the idea that he had figured out a way to move a collective group of people to whatever controlling power, which had been the government at the time, so that everybody would fall in line and do what they wanted.
So his manipulation tactics must have really worked, because I'd also heard that he was involved with Hitler and his manipulation tactics. So what's the plan there? Right.
Actually, Hitler asked him to be his propagandist, and he declined, obviously. So Hitler had to get somebody else. So I forget the guy's name that Hitler used, who was over his propaganda, but he is accredited Edward Bernays. So he had both of Edward Bernays' books there, and he said that it wouldn't have been possible for him to have as much influence through propaganda if it hadn't been for Bernays and the books that he had wrote. So, I mean, he directly said, hey, thank you, Edward Bernays, for helping us get as many people on our side as you could, so it's...
That's wild.
Yeah, it's wild. It's definitely wild, for sure.
So that makes a lot of sense if Hitler's propaganda specialist, head of propaganda, could use all of Bernays' tactics to get so many people to be for a cause that was not good. It was obviously a very, very bad thing that they did. If they get that many people to be for it, then his tactics must have really worked. So I can see why the American farmer, being as independent as they were, would have fallen for those tactics, whether they consciously knew it or whether they didn't know it. This is a very interesting episode. We learned a whole lot today. This is a very, very interesting topic. Bringing in some psychology in here. I really enjoyed this episode. I hope y'all did too. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Lily Burns.
And I'm Farmer Jack.
And we'll be seeing ya.